All right, let's get into a different kind of story today. Forget the heroes and dragons. This one's about something way more familiar, a ticking clock and the deafening silence that comes when it stops. And here's the twist. We're not climbing up toward the light for answers. No, today we're taking the downward road.
So picture this kingdom, right? Their god isn't some being in the sky. It's a massive, relentless clock in the middle of the city. They didn't worship things like faith or love. They worshiped productivity. And this god of gears, well, it was a hungry one. It demanded a single sacrifice. Every single second of their lives laid right on the altar of efficiency.
And this is where we meet our guy, a high-ranking official named Elias. He was a master of his world, you know? His life was this perfect, intricate puzzle of duties he called the king's order. Every minute was scheduled. Every hour was accounted for. By all measures, he was the poster child for success in this clockwork society. On the surface, yeah, Elias had it all: success, order, productivity. But that frantic schedule, it was really just a psychological shield, a fortress he built to keep himself from looking into this terrifying void inside him, and from asking the one question he was too afraid to answer: does any of this actually matter? And it wasn't just him. His entire culture was built on this. In this kingdom, if you had a free moment, people got suspicious. Stillness? That was basically a sin in the church of getting things done. So everyone just kept running, kept ticking along, always way too distracted to notice the truth about their pretty gilded cages. And then, the unthinkable happened. One day, with absolutely no warning, not even a shudder, the great clock stopped. Just like that. The god of gears fell silent, and time, as they all knew it, simply stopped. The effect was immediate, and it was catastrophic. People just froze. Their rituals were gone. Without their schedules telling them who to be, their very identities started to dissolve. And that terrible bargain they'd all made, trading real freedom for the comfort of a routine, was suddenly exposed for what it was: a raw deal. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was a horrifying mirror. But while the rest of the kingdom was panicking, something totally different was happening to Elias. In that sudden, shocking quiet, he didn't find terror. He found clarity. He looked at his life's work, this king's order, and saw it not as an achievement, but as a prison. The very silence he had spent his entire life running from, it finally gave him room to breathe. Now, Elias's journey doesn't go up towards some mountaintop of enlightenment. No, it goes down, into the shadows. He starts what the story calls a descent, a path into the quiet darkness to find something much more valuable than success. He's looking for integrity. So the first step on this downward road? He leaves the kingdom. Not physically, you see, but mentally. He's abandoning all the rigid structures, all the easy answers, and the whole performative dance of a society that was built to hide its own decay. Next, he walks into what's called the negator's fire. This is basically the spirit of doubt. It's that necessary friction that just shatters your ego. For Elias, this meant questioning everything he thought made him important: his job titles, his perfect schedule, his so-called success. It's a painful burn for sure, but it's absolutely essential for burning away all that vanity. And that fire leads him to the deepest part of the whole descent, the 10,000 hells. Now, this isn't about fire and brimstone. It's the crushing, collective weight of every single truth that he and his entire society had decided to ignore. It is the void, the one he'd been running from his whole life. So let's be clear about what the 10,000 hells really is. It's that moment you strip away all the status, the titles, the busyness, and you just face reality with raw, unflinching clarity. It is the polar opposite of that glowing, orderly clock that used to rule his life. It's a dark pit of absolute, brutal honesty. But here's the beautiful, brutal twist. This descent isn't about destruction. It's about creation. Down there, in the darkness, right at the point where it feels like the end, that's where you find the furnace of revelation. And in that furnace, the old self isn't just broken, it's completely reforged. So Elias is no longer a manager, no longer an official. He becomes something else entirely. He becomes the witness. He learns to just stand there as a bridge between the light of his own awareness and the harsh, difficult reality of the pit. He doesn't run from the darkness anymore. He uses his awareness to finally understand it. And this, right here, leads us to the pivotal question of this entire journey. What if the cracking of all our old masks, the absolute shattering of the life we thought we were supposed to live, what if that's not a tragedy? What if that breaking is the only way for something real and true to even begin?
And here it is. This is the breakthrough, the core lesson of the whole fable. True power has nothing to do with how many boxes you check or how productive you are. It's about having the raw strength and courage to stand up and claim your time as your own. Period.
With this one revelation, Elias undergoes his final transformation. He's no longer a servant of the clock. He is no longer a cog in a machine. He is something entirely new. He is now an architect.
I mean, just look at the difference. Before, he was a cog, perfectly shaped to fit into an economic machine, sacrificing his own spirit just to function. After his journey down into the pit, he becomes the architect of his own life, building his foundation on actual meaning, not a sterile schedule. So really, this story is a call to action for all of us. Reject the tyranny of the urgent, that feeling that everything has to be done right now. Create your own festivals of being, moments that exist for their own sake, not for productivity. Find meaning in the richness of this moment, and in doing so, reclaim your own dignity.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. We're all taught to manage our time, right? To optimize our lives like they're machines. But a life isn't a clock. It's a story. And the only question that truly, deeply matters is this: are you its author?